It is 7 o'clock. We will start with the March meeting of the APC. First item on the agenda, we are actually approving our January 8th minutes, which are laying in front of you. So our January 8th, 2025 minutes. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will get started then with APC petition 2025-3. Kobe Vanetta is requesting to subdivide 5 acres out of 72.40 acres and rezone approximately 2.99 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section numbers 915 and 927. Property is owned by the petitioner, is located just north of 6869 South State Road 3, Greensburg, Indiana, Sand Creek Township. Mr. Vanetta, take the podium and tell us what you're looking to do here. And
Well, that's pretty much it. Just north of the golf course there's a driveway. There used to be a dwelling there back in the 60s. The last building that was tore down was in the mid 80s, and just want to build a 2-bedroom home there, the small 1-car garage, and about it. Sewer's been the dirt's been approved and all that. The zoning's been, that's minimum amount to put a house on a septic system, so that's about it.
the driveway, using an existing driveway.
Yes.
So nothing with the state there.
Nope, already been talked to that fella and no problem.
Questions or comments from board members?
straightforward.
Nothing from the board.
Other questions?
I will ask for adjoining property owners' questions or comments. Not hearing any. I will look for a motion.
I make a motion to vote APC petition 2025-3.
First and second, we will vote.
All right. Clerk Tally, Tom Hunter, yes. Sheila Kirkhoff, yes. Paul Stone, yes. Scott Smith, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Bob Mauer, yes. Brett Sheedy, yes.
That being said, your petition carries. Stay in contact with the office through the building process, and this is the first step of many, and congratulations and good luck.
Hey, thank you folks very much. Have a good evening.
We will move on. APC petition 2025-4. Roy Saylor is requesting to rezone approximately 7.28 acres and A1 zoning classification to a B2 zoning classification for storage units. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 1125. The property is owned by the petitioner and is located just south of 808 North State Road 3, Westport, Indiana, Dan Creek Township.
Chris Pepe is representing Roy Saylor.
Mr. Tibby?
They were out of town today, some other personal matters, and asked me to attend the meeting today, just to be able to explain a little bit further and answer any questions. I believe all the preliminary issues have been addressed in the petition. This plan is storage units, and there still will be engineering designs. Working through, this is the first step. We obviously have to move to the second step to get permits and those type of things. I know I was talking with Doug, there may have been some questions about drainage, but obviously Roy does plan to hire engineers to address where the exact storage units would be and be able to obviously comply with statutes or ordinances that need to be addressed once they're ready for construction. Which is basically the first step, change it to the B2, which the storage units would fall under. And as you can see, there's some other B2s and Is, B3s, and close by there, so it sort of fits into the scheme and plan there.
And I noticed in the fact that there was a vote from the town of Westport.
Yes, I'm
Here,
sorry.
it did pass, so
Yes, that was voted on with the town council. That will receive favorable.
don't need to read this. Do you want to read this or the West? We did receive a letter from the Westport Methodist Church, just stating on Friday, 28th February, members of the Westport Methodist Church walked the boundary of our property line on the south side of 808 North State Road 3 Westport. This property is to go before the Planning Commission for rezoning on 5 March 2025. Our church board has no problem with the idea of rezoning. It is a small parcel with a small waterway running through the back section behind the church. There is housing and B2 property bordering it. However, we are concerned with the potential for stormwater runoff being hindered when building commences. Currently, there is fresh dirt piled behind the building on the property with no obvious silt control. Spring rains, this can cause runoff into the waterway. We are concerned with future building plans since the area, especially behind the church, provides water runoff for our property and Cova as well. Cova has installed several storm sewer features to ensure runoff from their property goes into the small waterway. Our property on the south and east side slopes to the south and east down to the waterway behind the manufactured homes. Underground pipes have been installed for the downspouts on the building. We have no idea where these run to, and we are therefore again concerned about the effects of construction on our runoff water. Our concern is that buildings proposed for this site will inhibit this flow of water without proper drainage being carefully considered during the planning and construction of the buildings. In addition, the back corner of our building is only 3 feet from the property line. Years ago, when there was a daycare at the church, a fence was installed to provide a playground. It is our understanding from Mr. Saylor that the line crosses the corner of the fence. No markers have been put up for the property lines. We do not know if this causes a problem for the rezoning or not. We have attached pictures to show Cova's landscape, fresh dirt piles, and a turnaround area of the courtyard community that will be the recipient of the runoff water. The drive-through courtyard is also access to a private residence that joins the Sailor's property. This is a very low area to receive much runoff. We appreciate your consideration in this manner. David L. Heilman, Board President. Questions, comments from board members?
I can speak to that drainage part real quick. So with our current drainage ordinance that we enacted, they won't even be able to receive a building permit until there's the drainage study and the complete design done that meets all those requirements. So, and it's pretty strenuous. I mean, the new ordinance is, it pretty much encompasses anything and everything. So you can't impede water coming off another property. That has to be taken into account. Any of the hard surface that is put on here, building, drive, any of that will have to have retention built so that that water gets metered. It doesn't just run straight out. So, I mean, drainage concerns, that was one of the reasons for that ordinance. And it'll definitely take care of this because Mr. Teddy said, we're in the first step of the process. This is simply the rezoning. There's a long way to go before any construction could even begin. So I just wanted to address that.
I think Roy's aware of that as well. The retention pond is obviously something. As far as how they accomplish that.
That's an engineer. Yes.
I'm not gonna touch that part.
Yeah. Versus where the drainage runs off Cova. And then their concern with the church is they're on the high spot, so water does run just way behind that. Which fortunately, they're on the high spot. They're not taking water from anyone else, but they want to make sure.
That we banned up.
Right, that all the water gets away, which that will all be covered. With the design, it'll have to be before they can even get a building permit.
Any other questions, comments, board members?
The zoning fits the area. It's not an outlier in the zoning standpoint.
Nothing else from the board. I'll ask for adjoining the property owners' comments and questions. State your name at the microphone and
Joseph Jenko. We live right there to the east of it at 520 with a little bitty house back there with a long driveway. And there's actually 2 little creeks that run down through there. The one that comes off Cova, it floods out our driveway. They don't flood it out, but I mean, it comes all the way up, all the way down to the trailer park. And the trailer park creek is so backed up right now that I was down there yesterday pulling branches out of it and everything else, just so we can get some of the water off of us before everything floods back there. And it's a low spot all the way to about where the marker is, the mouse on the screen. If you would just go east to the right a little bit, That's a low spot, and then it finally shoots uphill. And then, hey. So, yeah, so,
First time.
yeah, so about from right here, this is all low spot, all the way down through here. It's horrible. Right now, I mean, we put in a load of stone and it already disappeared. And then there is another small creek that runs right here across the driveway. And I've never seen it take on a lot of water. It's always been real low and everything like that. But that's another issue with me and my wife is what's he gonna do with the drainage? You know, we got 4 boys back there. We moved back there so we can get away from people. And then they put it in the trailer park and that's been nothing but nonsense and havoc since they put that in, trying to get in and out of there just with the easement. So my thing is, if they put that over there, we're gonna have people in there in and out all time of night. You know, what fences are gonna be put up to keep people from wandering, or that's our concern. Is all the people it's gonna bring to the area, stuff like that. So, that's all I have.
So the conversations, with, out access, or lighting, like that. So there could be some special
Mhm.
for access. If we will stipulate this.
I don't know that we ever, we don't really define it. It's a B2, B2, and as long as they're within the parameters for construction, then. But I don't recall what we did, because we did kind of do some stipulation when we rezoned that one.
They specifically use something that's going to be storage.
Yeah.
And some neighbors were concerned about security lights on the home. There's definitely discussion. I recall the details of that, but it, you know, usually.
Yeah, we did have quite a few stipulations on there. I mean, we could go back to the minutes.
I can put that one in the late 10.
I think we addressed like garbage and lighting and access.
Because a typical B2 is not fenced, right? I mean, like, you know,
No,
Doesn't have.
doesn't have to be. Did we add a fence to that?
I thought
Like
we did
privacy?
to that one.
Requested, which, I mean, typically these things will have a fence anyhow.
A lot of them now are, and then they're using the coded keypads
Mhm.
for access, and so they do the perimeter fencing. And then especially also if they have some open storage, which I don't know if that's here, we would probably need to do that as well, like for the RV boat parking and the like.
Yes, that is, we have been told that we'll have that. I'm Joanne Smith from Westport Methodist Church. Mr. Singler has told us that he plans behind the building to have RV storage. He planned to build it up, and that was my comment about the loose dirt that's back there.
I did that on Mother's Birthday.
Oh,
Sorry, I was like, I thought we lost power. No, I was looking for-
No, when was that? In my fund, that been 4 or 5 years ago, hasn't
it
it?
has been.
I
2 or 3.
don't think it's been since I've been on the board. It's prior to
this is B2 to the 11 decks. These are
Just for property. B2 properties 60. Construction. Fronts, is it the front 60 and the sides? I think the front and sides are different.
They are different. The other thing I do know that we addressed is on the lighting. I believe we looked at it more in relation to where we are doing like a business to a home and making sure that it's not, it's more down facing, that it's not shining the home.
Building shining at somebody's house.
Right, to have the security lights shine out, the promotion or whatever, but more conscious of that as well when there's the adjoining residential.
Yeah.
3 feet from the front, 10 on the side, and 20.
That's the highway.
That doesn't sound right, Doug. It's
That's
10
not,
from
that's
the
not,
side.
that's not in town versus,
It's 10, that's even, I think, or 15 for residential.
Yeah, same to.
Yeah, no, I don't, I mean, that could not be.
Chris, you're not on with any kind of site plans or?
I think that's my understanding is he's not got. Having it for you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, without a site plan, this area would be tough. Now, see, we're dropping, say, from 8-foot drop. Yeah. I mean, this area is not much can be done with that because there's this significant amount of drainage coming. You just like you mentioned, we're actually taking part. So your main construction would have to actually be to the south. To the south of the church. They couldn't do a whole lot here.
This shows how much that drops. That's,
No.
Yeah, if you look, Paul, this cross section,
yeah.
that's where we're dropping from there to there, almost 8 feet, right directly east of the church. So I guess the concern would be, if we're looking to rezone, he needs that in order to go to the next step, but. Well, technically, they'll probably need this area for the stormwater retention. That would be where that retention pond would go, to meter that water out, so you didn't get all the water once. That's the intent of it. Basically, all the runoff from that property goes to a pond with a small pipe. It gets metered out. That way you're not getting all of it.
So is that going to the town then?
It's going, I mean, it would go to the same spot in that ditch.
Okay.
But it's not gonna, when you get a heavy rain, it won't all come at once. That pond stores it and meters it out over.
Could theoretically be better than what it is today.
Much better.
Could be
Yeah.
better if it, has to go through.
Yeah. It's gonna take that water, you won't get it like you're getting now. Every time it rains, the drop falls. Runs right off the drop.
Yeah. And we got Cova up behind us also
Right,
bringing it down.
shedding that bit as well. You've got a lot of water that comes your direction.
Chris, do we have any layout of what this is proposed to look like the buildings, the distance from the sides and setbacks, if there's fencing, if there's an open storage area, any of that?
If there is, I have not seen it personally. I don't, he hasn't said anything to me.
Roy has not said anything to me about this piece of property or surveying it. Yeah, I'm aware of the other one, but this one, no.
I think your comment was what I was going to mention as well. I think Roy obviously understands it's going to be a cost of doing business, but to get to that next step, I have that cost and figure it out with the plan.
That's where we get
You
to.
can't on day one. So
Yeah,
you can't do two.
I mean, I'm not opposed, but the problem is if you just turn it into a B2 and he decides you don't want to put storage shed there, then you've got to do opposite of B2, other things to go on to that.
Right, because it may not be cost effective when he finds out what the drainage requirements are, because it sounds like there's a lot of water pushed through there. And then, given the topography and the different things to get, because, you know, it's always a profit loss situation on the number of units and what kind of profit can be generated from that in relation to the cost to create them. So I almost think some of that needs done before the rezone would happen. Because we just have no idea what it's looking like.
mhm. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I hate that, but without some scope, you know, we're kind of limited.
Possibly try to obtain or see what you would need to do to get that information, but then be not have to reapply. I guess.
Yeah, because we could table.
We can just table it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You wouldn't have to reapply.
No, it's not a new application or a new fee.
I think to summarize, and we've heard this, but the neighbors' concerns with security lighting possibly coming on and going off, if he is okay with some kind of non-24-hour access to headlights shining in the ancillary properties. I'm, for some reason, I feel like we had something previously, maybe it wasn't the previous one of Lake St. for storage units, but I feel like direct vision of white light, you know, not that you can't see the structure, not that it can't point away, but basically a white light can't shine towards a home or something. It seems like that's familiar to me. And I think as long as he's okay with making some concessions, we wouldn't be out of line for what we've done.
Right. Yeah, but with a little bit of scope, you know, design, and then we could put stipulations on it like we had in the past with a little guidance. That way everybody gets their concerns addressed. That makes sense.
I think when we've done dams up there too, you know, he told us it's going to be 8 units or whatever. And really, we have no idea how big that storage.
Right. There's not even a conceptual. Guess with all that in mind, I'll make a motion to table.
First and second to table petition 2025-4, pending further information. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 2025-4 is tabled. We'll move us on to APC petition 2025-5. Roy Saylor is requesting to rezone approximately 7.126 acres in A1 zoning classification to an R2 zoning classification for a subdivision plat. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 200-1. Property is owned by the petitioner and is located just west of 200 West Kentucky Avenue, Westport in Sand Creek Township. Mr. Tebby?
So on this one, it's obviously different with it being the residential. I think Andy may have more information than I do actually on this one as far as what the plan would be. I think the understanding would be there'd be 6 lots that would ultimately be developed. Working on.
Yeah,
Kind of what Roy's plan is,
Roy's already, he owns this 7 acres. He's got blessing from the town of Westport for the rezone. We've tried a couple different designs and there's been concern from citizens. A lot of it's, stormwater. You can see this big waterway here, and right here, there's a kind of like a little frog pond or something. There's also water that comes off this field through here, down here. This bottom parcel is still owned by the Hamptons. And Roy has got a land contract on that. We had a tech review meeting on this, and the plan was to bring both of these parcels to one APC meeting and request all of it be rezoned R2. Originally, he was going to put a detention pond here. There'll be like 6 lots. Phase 1 will be 6 lots out here with a new 50-foot right of way right here in the middle. That's kind of phase 1. But when there was a lot of concern from these neighbors here about the runoff, Roy said, okay, I'm just want to fix it, do it all. So then he got rid of this waterway or this detention pond. He's making one big detention pond down here. FPD&H out of North Vernon, they're doing the design work. We've sent them the topo. And then we got to go back out there and stake it so they know how big of a detention pond can handle like the maximum amount. I don't know how many houses he could get in there and roadways. They'll engineer all that. So he didn't, I guess he didn't make it to the Westport Town Board meeting for this bottom piece, but the tech reviews, that was their recommendation. So I'm guessing, next month, you may see another petition coming in front of you to rezone this, because even for these first 6 lots up here, all the water, stormwater is going to be taken down here to this. And that's really what needs to happen. I mean, I think he's trying to do it the right way. Phase 1, just in 6 houses, just kind of recoup a little bit of his initial construction costs and things like that. Gets those sold, then we'll look at phase 2. And I'm not sure what phase 2. I haven't seen any plans as far as like how many houses or how the street's going to extend down. That's.
So what if he doesn't get it approved for the bottom? Is this a situation where we need to hold it and make sure? Because if you put the front part in and we don't have that extra large retention pond in the back, then I'm not sure what the front should be looking like.
Yeah, that's my only holdup is you got to rezone it all, because if your retention's going on the south portion.
Yeah,
I mean,
like I said,
I think it's in the right direction.
I think he just didn't
Get there.
Whenever the Westport had their town board meeting, it had already passed. Timing, it went through tech review. Because tech review thought the same thing, and really we were hoping just to put it on, just make it one petition for the whole thing instead of having it like, I don't know if he can do that. Change his petition or have to pay for another petition and have like this 2025-4 and 2025-7 because it's 2 parcels, but
I mean, I would be opposed to the same petition, but the problem is we didn't advertise it properly for the extension.
Right.
It only has 1 description, so we're gonna have to do re-advertising for sure, even if it's
Okay.
like amended.
But we could keep it as, it could just be an amended petition.
Or it could just, what I would say is create a new number, Doug waive the fee on it, advertise the new amount, and then in the meeting, we'll just put them together for the vote. That these have been merged together because it's now going to be one project. And I think we would have covered notice to everybody and would have not required 2 fees since we're gonna put in one project. I mean, it's the board's decision, that's just a recommendation.
The key is he's got to get it. Support first.
right. And we've been down to Westport. I've been out there. I've talked to other neighbors, especially like John Gant. He lives right here on the south end here, and he gets a lot of this water coming down through here. And that was his biggest holdup was like, you don't need to be putting a little detention pond here and putting in 10 or 18 lots here and then doing more here. You need to just do it one big detention here to handle that whole. I think already the bottom parcel is about 12 acres, I think. But I don't know how much of it's, there might be 3 or 4 acres in this low lying ground there. So I know it made John Gant very happy because you go down there, you'll see they've got a tile, they drained the pond. And he's got a perforated tile going from the old pond all the way down to the outlet that goes underneath State Road 3. It's laying in John's yard. So, John, that's made John happy.
I mean, it seems like one project, it would be one vote. And I think explaining what we're willing to do to send out additional mailers and things like that to the neighbors at no additional charge. I mean, it.
Well, he'd be responsible for the cost of the mailing,
Mailings,
but not
okay.
the base fee of
But
$5.
not another $500 charge for the addition.
So,
Yeah.
okay with that, Chris? That's.
I know it's another month, it's probably wants an answer, but I think we would all feel more comfortable if they were put together and we knew where the retention pond was going to sit.
That reviews suggest, recommendation, so.
The table then.
And then I don't know if he'll be able to make the next meeting. I don't know when Westport is, and with our publication, we'll just have to see if he can make that or if it'll have to hold him on.
Yeah, I don't know. I can step out, got to call and see if I don't know when Westport has their town board meetings. So-
I believe it's the second one.
Second Monday, but he went like the last month's meeting, town board, or he's going, next week. But-
Our advertising. Yeah. it was,
That's is what it is.
Yeah.
But that might give more time for the engineering firm to. How long do you think that is on?
Last email I saw from them, I thought they said 4 to 6 weeks to redesign it.
That might make it available to the board to see that as well.
This letter, it was the second Monday of the month on this last time they led letter, so that would make sense. So are they sizing this detention or retention based on how many homes or how much surface? How will they know how to calculate?
So what they'll do is they'll see how much they can actually store
Okay.
and work backwards from there,
Okay.
with how much hard surface they can. Yep.
Because at this point, it's tough to know. I mean, if that 7-ish acres was full of driveways, shingles, road, there could be a lot there, but if they're kind of sizing it based on an estimation of 12 homes, that could be a lot different.
Yeah, and they've got other water to account for, which they don't, they're not required to retain,
Or bears.
but they're town through.
Yeah.
And,
Spillway.
yeah, I mean, it's a decent endeavor.
Right. And I know
Design.
like at least those first 6 lots, I mean, I forget the exact dimensions, but he's making the lots bigger than the minimum requirement. I think, the minimum was say a 70-foot lot, and I think they're all like 95-foot wide lots. I mean, he wants he wants people to have like an actual side yard and not just, cram in. And at least on the first phase, I haven't seen we don't have anything for any additional phases, but originally he wanted them about the same size as these lots over here in Kansas Edition. These are all like 150 feet deep, and I want to say 80 feet wide. And even that exceeds our current ordinance.
The last time we saw this, we've discussed these 6 further before, and there was discussion about sidewalks or curbs or things like
Yes.
that. Is that right?
Yes, sidewalks.
They tried to get a variance before
Okay.
anything. It was in the BZA actually,
Okay.
because they were looking for the variance to kind of determine some cost on the project.
Yeah.
That's where that ended up, but
We
they
did not-
actually, no, because they didn't have zoning
Yeah.
or design.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's gonna have some frustration, to me, this is a very sensitive thing, just because anytime we talk about something around that Westport area, drainage is always a big concern, and I feel like we need to have our ducks in a row before we cut loose building non-permeable surfaces, but
And board members, correct me, we looked at this before, didn't Westport come back and say that they were not going to require the sidewalks in
They
front?
did, but yeah, it came back for them that way, but we still, it was a weird deal because we had no reason to grant an exception for something that we hadn't rezoned it. But yes, the last letter, first one, they were opposed
Opposed to it, and then they were for it, and then
because originally it wasn't just 6 lots, it was gonna be,
It was like 18 lots. And
Yeah.
he was going to, there's like
Yeah.
Wiley Street here or something. He was going to extend this street over, and then make it split off. And then these neighbors, they complained about that because they didn't want their street extended. Originally, they were, like I said, the first design was like 16 lots.
was.
And then he scrapped that because he's trying to, so he's like, I won't use your street. I'll make it, he'll make his own street coming off Kentucky Avenue. So no one can go out these existing streets that are already in Cam's edition. So yeah, this has been changed numerous times. I feel like he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to work with the neighbors. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because you gotta go back and redesign it and
so will the driveways all attach to Kentucky, or will it be a street that the driveways come to heading?
the 6 lots will all go out on Kentucky Avenue. And then there's gonna be a 50-foot right of way. So there'll be 3 lots on each side,
Yeah.
50-foot right of way in the middle that'll extend down. And I'm not sure how the engineer's designing future phases. Yeah, there'll have to be something back there for all the emergency vehicles and all that.
Is that going to mean?
I thought he already had that approved. I didn't think that was an issue.
Because I didn't see that in the,
I'll double check with him tomorrow, but see where he's got that letter, but I think all these other houses here on Cans, I mean, all that whole row, I think they all come out on Kentucky.
and Chris, we looked at the calendar, so if you would be going to the Westport meeting on Monday the 10th, our deadline for advertising would be Thursday,
Sorry, April,
no, March,
March 13th.
for the April meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you went on the 10th, everything would have to be in here ready to advertise by the 13th.
Okay.
All I got was there's other questions. I mean,
I'm sorry, Chris, she has to send them to the newspaper on the 13th, so they probably have to be here by the 12th. For us to be able to turn it around.
He's not in Westport Monday. It can obviously be a later month too.
Oh, yes.
No problem.
Yeah, I think with the sensitivity of the drainage, I think we just need a few more details before we can cut that loose. But I make a motion and we table 2025-5.
I'll second it.
first and second, any discussions? Not hearing any, all in favor of table 2025-5, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is tabled.
Aye.
Yeah, don't sit down, and they got more questions for you. All right, moving on. APC petition 2025-6. Amend survey ordinance. This is just actually our first reading. And so we will have a second reading before we actually send this to the commissioners. So Doug or Andy, want to explain what we're amending here? I know on the second one here, it was marked in the thing, but
Yeah, so our current survey this ordinance is basically just what is required on a survey to be approved through the county, through the area plan office, auditor, recorder. Current ordinance, was approved back in 2008. So a lot of things have changed, a lot of things just aren't relevant. We've been working on this for about a year. It's gone through tech review. I think it kind of got put aside a little bit. Krista was working on it, but when all that solar stuff hit, this kind of got pushed aside. And then at the end of the year, the outgoing commissioners, they didn't want to mess with it. So they said, push it back to the beginning of the year, let new ones deal with it. So, a lot of it's just clarifying things. You know, it talks about, you know, what's required on a route survey. You know, the old ordinance didn't spell that out. And the biggest problem is you get out of county surveyors and they look at the ordinance and they put everything on there. I mean, if it's in the county, they put the county area plan certificate on there. They put the Greensburg certificates on there, owner certificates, and, you know, it didn't spell out like what's required for each type of survey, whether you're splitting off a piece of ground, doing a route survey, you're doing an easement. So we broke it down a little bit better and said, hey, if you're doing this survey, these are the certificates required. We reworded some of them. Some of the wording was not real well, kind of was repetitive. Missy's when, you know, she's helped review the wording to make sure it makes sense. It's a little more just clear. I've sent this to the city as well. Just because our auditor reviews it, even if the survey is going through the city, we wanted them to be involved. They were good with everything. I mean, we took out some of the stuff that's not relevant anymore. We took out like, you know, to have flood certificates on there because all that stuff is already on Beacon. You know, all the maps from FEMA are already scanned in. All you have to do is click a button and you see if the property's in flood zone. Don't need it. That's what you do on a survey anyways. You just scan it in, scale it in. You don't actually go out there and field survey. We took out that kind of stuff. I had a section in here. It was passed by the state Senate in 2018. Just different language for what needs to go in the caption of a legal description where it says, you know, this property's in this section township and range, but it also stated that you have to put in there the surveyor's name that certifies it, the date it's certified, its project number. You know, we added that stuff in there because, you know, that's a state requirement from 2018. We still get surveys and surveyors don't do it. These are mainly these out of county surveyors. So we put it in there and I referenced the Indiana code. That this isn't just us, this is state. Put in our section 12, made it a little clear on like county review fees, area plan fees stayed the same. The auditor, they felt like they needed to raise it from like $20 to review a survey to 40. And they put in there, you know, if it's a subdivision, you know, it's a fee plus $10 per lot. The biggest reason is the city did Liberty Lakes and the auditor we spent tons of time fixing that survey. The surveyors, they just couldn't get it right. Eventually the owner of the company, survey company, took his other surveyor off the job. The owner took over. He came down and met with me and the girls from the auditor's office at City Hall and went through it all. And then he got it fixed. So, that $10 per lot, if it's a big subdivision, that's something that, yeah, then again, Liberty Lakes, I think it's the first subdivision we've really had here since about 2008. Winchester Park might have been like Leesburg.
Was a lot of that stemmed from the way the old one was written?
All the mistakes,
In other words, will this help push it forward
it should.
to
If they,
straighten those guys out that
it should. I mean, usually the problem is with a lot of the big companies from out of county, they do it the way surveys and subdivisions are done in their county. They send it here, they don't read any of our survey ordinances, subdivision ordinances, and then the county has to make all kinds of, they'll mark it up all kinds of red and send it back, and then they start complaining. But they never read any of our rules. So be a lot easier if they just call the area plan office, city office, talk to them first, find out, what do you guys need here in Greensburg and Decatur County? This ordinance will be sent to them, and as well as whatever else they need for the project. It still says in here, easements have to be surveyed if they're private easements. Counties have too many problems with blanket easements. We've got some pushback from some attorneys that, they get like the right easement saying 20-foot easement, 10 feet on the center line of wherever they bury the pipe. With Westport right now, they're expanding their lift station, pipe's 30 feet away from their easement, the existing pipe. Now they don't know what to do. They think they're gonna have to resurvey and create a new easement, get another easement from the landowner. Apparently he wasn't a very happy landowner the first time, the first line went through, now they're adding another one. Most of everything in here is updates from situations we've seen as a county of problems that we're trying to just head off before they ever come about. I don't know if there's anything else, except now we scan in all the surveys, it says here the minimum, the text height has to be at least 1/8 of an inch tall, and it's got to be dark enough that the scanner will pick it up. All the surveys are scanned. In 2008, we didn't have scanners, or at least our county didn't. That's something that the recorder wanted in there. And that's the gist of it. And I can send you guys the old ordinance if you want to compare it with the new ordinance. At some point I had
And
everything.
they already received it.
They've already received it all.
Yeah, they have the old and new.
Well, this is just our first reading, so we don't need a motion or anything on it, but just so you know, we will have a second reading, and then once we do adopt it, we will send it off to the commissioners at our next monthly meeting, I assume.
actually we just have one of the amendments and the new one in our packet.
Oh, I thought it was email.
The old one should
The okay, the 08 one was an amendment as well.
I was gonna say, I think that was just, it was the current one, but it amended one before that.
The one with Gabe Nobby's signature on it?
The one with this.
No, there is not. We don't, that's what I'm saying. We did not receive the other one.
The other way.
Yes. Okay. Well, it sounds like, because I fielded a lot of complaints, which I can tell them, you just have to follow our county's rules, but I know from engineering firms, it's a common question, and I don't know what to tell them when they complain about surveys. But I've had the same conversation. You can go to another county and it's similar issues.
Yeah.
Because it's such a strange thing, county by county.
and city by city.
Yeah,
I mean,
certainly.
Greensburg is totally different than Batesville.
Yeah.
And
So hopefully this will clarify and help some of that stuff out. I'm glad to see it. I mean,
If it's logical, I feel like that eliminates a lot of things. If we can explain there's valid reasons for the way that it is,
Yeah,
it's okay if it's different. It doesn't have to be the same.
right, and it's clarified now.
Yeah.
You said you took a lot of language out that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
It's bound to help.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Yes. Got a word next.
All right, we will move on to APC petition 2025-7. Repealing zoning ordinance Article 9, Section 940-3, B and C, first reading.
So this has been kind of a long time coming. This section of the zoning ordinance requires a septic site has to be surveyed for new construction. It's got to be referenced to a boundary. And then Krista would draw them in on GIS. Okay, where here's a septic site. I kind of fought this for a long time because originally, back in Dave Newman's days, it said you had to have a sewage treatment plant. And then they got rid of that language because that was obviously illegal. IDM's not going to give one house a treatment plant. So then they said, well, we don't have that. You have to have two septic sites. There for a while, you probably remember we had to have two septic sites tested, which takes up more land. You know, they're trying to save farm ground, but that takes up more land that the owners have to use. So we got rid of the two septic sites. We went down to one septic site, which is, I feel, the way it should be. According to the state board of health, they said about 75% of the counties in the state only require one septic site to be tested for a new residence.
And with the onset of these Presby systems, you can about make it work anywhere. So
Yeah,
some of that.
are so
surface
small,
stuff, yeah.
and I've told, I mean, you know, Brad, I mean, I think you can just clean out those sand beds and reuse that same area.
If you had,
Yeah,
nobody knows when that will be.
right, yeah. Had testing it.
Yeah.
They haven't failed. So that's where it is currently. And I don't like this section because if someone's grandfathered in, and if they don't need to come here for a rezone, they're still gonna have to pay a surveyor to come out and find two property lines, section lines, something, measure all that in, locate where the septic site is. And it's kind of for nothing. I feel like if the county wants to do something like that, I feel like they should require the Board of Health, like the septic installers, submit a better site plan and maybe reference the septic system to a building or something, or, you know, the center of the road fence lines, you know, require something like that when the installers, because most of the time when we go out and do them, nothing is laid out. I mean, we see the soil boring flags. So we locate the flags and then we have to just kind of draw a box because we know the system's going to be where they tested the soil. Sure. But I feel it's unnecessary red tape. It's additional cost to the citizens.
Yeah, the map is there because the septic installer has to have a map. Then it's measured by the inspector as well. They never use this ever
No,
for anything.
right.
And if you have to relocate a system, you go to the Board of Health and get that
drawing.
Right.
And
There
they
should be
use
a-
that.
I don't feel like this should be in our zoning ordinance. If the county really wants that, you know, I don't know who oversees the health department. But I think it should be in their requirements, not in here, not forcing them to,
The health department was never for this.
yeah.
They weren't.
So if they're not for it, I mean, that's why I'm asking while we're updating the survey ordinance requirements, I'm asking to remove this so that, you know, just, you know, feel it's really beneficial.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, once again, that is just our first reading, so we will do a second reading next month and then pass that on to the commissioners, so for approval, and from there it will be hopefully changed in the county ordinances, so. Anybody got any other questions or comments on either one of the first readings?
This would remove any septic from survey, not just a secondary. This would remove primary and secondary.
Right now, we don't even have to have a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
The county's already got rid of that a year or so ago.
I feel able to complain on the secondary thing, so I just want to make sure I understood that this gets all septic stuff off of surveys.
Right, now you just, whatever the health department requires.
Yeah.
That's all you need to get your septic permit. We don't need to be doing, so they bring the permit to the area plan.
Yeah.
Get your building permit. Leave the surveyors out.
And just another follow-up, we had an email from Jennifer McNeely saying, why are we even looking at this now? Because, we're supposed to be doing a comp plan revision and ordinance revision should follow that. But these really aren't the type of things that need, the comp plan doesn't weigh in on what this is. And the survey ordinance wouldn't really be one that typically would be reviewed after a comp plan revision. So it still seems appropriate that let's address these. And we all know how long a comp plan revision is going to take. And, that these are things that definitely will be beneficial for the next couple of years while we're through that.
Sure.
Well, with that being said, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Ah, no, it's not recommended.